It does not mean that same process, that same 3-step guide, blueprint, is going to work for you. And that was a really important revelation for me, is because I understand that in human design, I'm a guide, or what we call a projector.
Welcome back to Power Within. I'm Kori Burgess, and in each show we celebrate creators, founders, authors, and people who genuinely enjoy their career, the career that they chose. Some may look unconventional, and that's the beauty in this celebration of them, and that's the beauty in this show, to show you the unconventional becoming conventional, right? Their journey could be your incentive to begin your journey. So understand that. Listen to their journey, and if you find something that reflects for you, that could be an incentive to start your journey. But before we get started, I'd like you to make sure that you leave a thumbs up for me, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to stay updated on everything we're doing here on this channel, make sure to ring that notification bell. Okay, let's get started. Today, we celebrate Dr. Brandy Stamper, who is a strategic performance coach and consultant. Brandy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Kori. I really appreciate it.
I'm so glad you could make it, and we have scheduled this. I guess it's been on the books for a little bit, a couple of weeks, right?
I think so, yeah, for January and so forth. So yeah, it's been a while.
So I want to let people know I'm looking at your website right now. So if you're on YouTube, or if you have an Instagram or Facebook account with me, you might see me looking to the side. That's because I'm looking at this beautiful website that Brandy has here. And I want to talk about a couple of things on here. But first, Brandy, before we get started, could you give people your website address, please?
Absolutely. So it's fairly simple. It's brandystamper.com. And I always spell it out because for some reason people like to add an L to my last name and put Stampler. Brandy, Brandy, and then Stamper, STAMPER.com.
Thank you. And Brandy is a doctor, so that comes with credentials, you guys, as you know. She has experience in education to back it up. One thing I want to talk about, Brandy, this strategic performance coach for business professionals and entrepreneurs. How did you come to that? What's your story? How did you grow into this position?
Such a great question. So we will start with my academic background. I started at a university and I was going for my bachelor's degree in psychology and communication studies. And my focus was in organizational context. So whether if that was IO psychology or organizational communication. So learned about burnout, employee turnover, business communication, interpersonal, small group, all those really fun things. So I finished out with my bachelor's and I went to work for an organization where we would do personality fit. So basically, we would go to their managers, their vice presidents, directors, and we would do personality testing and find out if the position that they're in was a good fit for them. If not, how can we tailor this position so that way they thrived in that position? Enjoyed it. Training, workshops, all that. But then I applied for my master's and I went back and got my master's degree in communication studies. And so interesting piece is during that time, department chair was like, hey, you're finishing out your master's. You would be eligible to be a teacher or a professor. Would you be interested in applying? Yes, let's do it. That way I can teach not just those who are in mid or high level management. Let me get to those who are starting off their career. So I did that for a number of years. And in the meantime, during that process, I would also do some consulting on the side, but under that university umbrella. Funny thing is I love learning. So I went back and got my doctorate because I was like, why not? I enjoy learning. Let me add to this.
For those of us who don't, explain that. How do you enjoy it being in a classroom learning? Explain that. What's that? No, truly, what's that feed for you? I enjoy learning, just being out and learning from the world with you, but what's the energy that flows there?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I'm a lifelong learner. So Yeah, I enjoy going out and learning different things. Probably the answer to that about going back for my doctorate was twofold. One, for the professional piece, like to continue moving up, there is that credentialing piece that organizations tend to look for. But also, I'm a first generation college student. So I was the first one, for those who don't know what that means, I was the first one in my family to even go to college. I was the first one to get a degree. Well, there was no one in my family who had ever gotten a doctorate. So, really, it was just more of a personal interest on the other side. It was something like a goal I really wanted to achieve. And that was one of those things that I wanted to do. The difference between academic learning versus learning every day. So, for me, I like taking, and this is one of my sweet spots of what I do in my work, is I can take theory and put it in a practical sense and merge and bridge those two together. And I think that's what's really important, is that we have this theoretical research out there about all these different things that are happening. But what happens is we can't translate it into the practical or the strategies. We kind of stay high level. And I was like, there's got to be a way to bridge this. And so part of my doctoral work was actually more practical. Yes, there was the dissertation that I completed, but that dissertation was very practical and actual steps and strategies that can be done in an organizational sense to further along ideas of identity. So that was my focus. So we won't go down that rabbit hole, but
Thank you for
there you
that,
go.
though. That's very interesting. I like that theory with practical. That's good.
Yeah, no. So I finished out my doctorate, and at this time, I am still a professor at my institution. So I teach business communication, or I'm in the communication studies department. And so at this point, I had reached a pretty much a part of burnout. What everyone probably has that feeling before. I was overwhelmed. On paper, everything looked great. I had the credentials. On the surface, I had the family, living comfortably, great job, all that. But I remember sitting on the beach with my husband, and it was during like our yearly vacation, watching our kids play. And I felt like a shell. I was just sitting there, and I really wasn't enjoying myself. And my husband said, what's wrong with you? And I said, yeah. I was like, well, there's many things, but no. Well, like he could see it just like in my eyes. Like he could just see that
Just
something was
like, yeah.
off. And I was just like, I was like, I don't know. I said, I've reached all these goals, but I feel like I really haven't reached anything. And then I said, I'm not happy where I am professionally, but also personally. And he's like, well, what does that mean? And I couldn't put my finger on it. So the interesting piece is the way I am wired, which we'll talk about in my work, but the way I am wired is I am someone who can become a workaholic. And if I do that, I burn out. And I don't necessarily see my achievements as really achievements. Like I'm just like, oh, yeah, whatever. I got it. Let's move on. I like to move the goalpost. In addition to that, my job was not as fulfilling because there was a little piece of me that who I was as a leader, who I was as a person was not necessarily not being recognized, but I wasn't able to use that. And I just felt like stuck in a box. So going down the rabbit hole of finding out more about myself, more than just personality testing, because I was in the personality testing realm. Like I knew about DISC, MBTI, colors, all the things. But what I never really liked about those tests is they just gave you surface level behaviors. They didn't really explain the why behind what you do and explain your energy and how you are meant to navigate this world. So I was exposed to the Enneagram and I was exposed to human design. And those systems have been eye opening for me to help me understand my purpose, why I felt the way that I did, and how I can actually create my life and my career into something that I love and that I enjoy. And so from that, I opened up my coaching and consulting business personally. Like I moved away from the university with that. So I have my own business and and I'm still a professor. Like I still do that because I enjoy the teaching piece. But now that I've been able to bridge both of those, it's been phenomenal for me.
Yeah. When you're working as a professor and you're teaching, do you find yourself using your coaching on your students?
Yes. Once I got my certification, so in coaching, there's only one body out there that is basically the International Coaching Federation. That is a sanctioning body for coaching. Some people out there who'll go out and say that, hey, I'm a coach, I'm a life coach, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when you're looking at business strategy, career strategy, leadership, mindset, some of those things, it's really, really important that you have some type of training in the background to help you make sure you're not engaging in therapy, because coaching is not therapy, right? If you need to make sure you're not getting into that, but also that you're not doing a disservice to your client by pushing on your own perceptions of what they should do, because that's more like consulting. As I got my certification, my professional certified coach certification through the called ICF, learned some techniques and strategies that, yes, I started to utilize with my students. And it's very interesting. There is a shift in higher education that students are yearning for career readiness, or yearning for skills that they can translate into their job. While they are yearning for that, at the same time, there's a pushback whenever you stray from the traditional, here's the test, here's the content, now here's the questions, make sure you memorize the questions. When you actually get them to try to engage, or to, for example, like I'll do a goal setting type of exercise in one of my classes, and the goal setting is for the semester in the course, but it's to help them create 30, 60, 90-day type of plans, and to look at why they're doing what they do. A lot of them will say they want an A in the course. Okay, well, why do you want the A? And they're like, I just want an A. How is that going to matter 4 years from now? What are the skills you're getting out of this course? Like, and those types of things. And it's funny, there's a mix. Some students love it, right? Because they're like, wow, it taught me to goal set. Others are like, this is a waste of time. But it's funny, 4 years down the road, I'll get an email that says, thank you for doing that in the class. At the time, I really hated it and thought it was stupid. And now I see how it's applied in my career. And I'm like, now can you go back and fix my teaching evaluation that you probably dinged me on?
If you're dealing with students that are young, you're dealing with a young mind that is easily molded. And depending on how they even went through high school, or how they had their learning through home or through influences around them, when they get to college, I was just sharing with a client that up until 17 or 18, whatever year, however old they are when they're a senior, they've had this conformed environment. Then they go to college and they get a little bit of freedom, but they still have to go into the class, and they still have to do the work, and they still have to, whatever that assignment is, the outcome. So they get a little bit more freedom. And then when they finish, there's nobody telling them what to do. I mean, they have freedom. It's like they think they love it, but then it's almost like a baby's first steps. There's no barriers. The parent is going, yeah, come on. And they're like, I can't, can I hold myself up? And so you're dealing with, when you have a student who's a young student in college, they probably want the perimeters, and you're saying you can think freely. Well, yeah, but what's the assignment? How am I supposed to think? No, this is your chance to think freely. Wait a minute.
Yes. And run into that all the time. And it's always like, okay, like they'll say, well, what's the answer to this question? I'll say, well, what do you think it is? And they hate that. Yes, exactly. They're like, just tell me what to do. And I'm like, but the thing is when you get out into the workforce, because I work with executives and vice presidents all day long, and they're not going to tell you what to do. They're going to say, here's the deadline. Here's what I need. They want you to figure it out.
Right.
And they're going to answer questions along the way for you if need be, but don't come asking them every 2 minutes, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? And I'm like,
did you like it? Did you like it? Did you like it? Did you like it?
Exactly. And I'm like, it was so beautiful is that, a long time ago, to get our information, we had encyclopedias at home, right? Everybody has an encyclopedia in their hand now. And it's like, when I have a student that asks me the question, I'll be like, well, did you Google it? Like how to export a PDF, right? So, that's a skill, but at the same time, they're like, well, how do you do this? And I said, well, did you Google it? There's tons of YouTube videos out there. No. And I'm like, how is it this old girl knows to do that first, who used the encyclopedia and knows to Google something first?
And really, we have created, the genius has created the laziness. And so when you see someone exerting themselves even more than average, you're like, wow, but it's like, that should be the norm. Unfortunately, it's not. Yeah. So this spurred you into this beautiful business that you have. Now, who is your ideal client?
Yep. So I have two types of clients. One, I
Hmm.
have leaders who are in corporate, so mid level to C suite. And then I also work with small business owners and entrepreneurs. My main mission and goal in life, and actually what I found out within my human design, my purpose in life, is
Hmm.
to really help people build custom strategies that align with how they are designed to operate, which is like their performance, and with that mission that drives them, with their purpose. So for far too long, we have utilized what I call generic playbooks of saying, this is how you get successful. This is what you need to do, XYZ. And it worked for that person. It does not mean that same process, that same 3-step guide, blueprint, all is going to work for you. And that was a really important revelation for me, is because one, I understand that in human design, I'm a guide, or what we call a projector. And I am not meant to push and do and do and do and do like I was acting like I was a builder or a generator. Hence, this explains why I got so burned out. But on top of that, blending the Enneagram piece, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. So essentially, what that means is that I am the workaholic of the Enneagram. So my human design is not meant to be a workaholic. It's meant to guide and mentor and help people see their own genius. But as a 3, in order to be successful, I push, 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 push in order to meet that. Hence the reason why there was that disconnect. So now I'm able to blend and bridge those to understand that I can work in these bursts. I am here to do this, which is the reason why I love coaching and consulting so much. And that's in part why I still want to teach, because it's empowering people to understand themselves and figure out what works for them and guide them to that, instead of giving them, here's what to do, now go do it.
Hmm.
Right? Because what worked for me will not work for you. Right?
Sure.
Because we're all very, very unique. And so that's that beautiful blend that I try to bring into the classroom, but you can only bring in so much because, again, they are younger and the frontal lobe is not fully developed.
Right.
The last statistic I looked at was for females, it was 23. Men, never happens. Just
I was going to say, is it
joking.
25 for men or 27, something like that?
Oh, never. It never fully develops. No, yeah, I think it's like 26,
Yeah.
to be honest. But no, if we want to play games, no, it never develops fully for men.
If, as you're listening, you realize you want more structure and support around this kind of inner work, I want to share something with you. I've created a 30-day personal growth challenge designed to help you slow down, reflect, and reconnect with yourself, one simple day at a time. It's not about perfection, and it's not about pressure. It's about awareness and alignment and gentle consistency. If that feels supportive for where you're at right now, you'll find all the details linked in the episode description. Now, is that what you were speaking about when purposeful leadership? Is that how you're helping leaders being purposeful in their role, in their leadership there?
Absolutely. So the purposeful leadership is this idea of, it's more than just understanding yourself. Like, more often than not, we hear about self-awareness and knowing who you are and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
That's great. That's a wonderful starting point. The problem is leaders don't implement it. They know what their strengths are, but it's like, okay, these are my strengths. What are my blind spots? Let me go ahead and start working on my blind spots. And it's like, well, why do you want to work on your blind spots?
That's
Why
what I'm saying.
not develop those
Yeah.
strengths and be able to fill in the blind spots with your team, those
Mhm.
around you?
Right. Yeah.
But it's also going by your own playbook. Like, for example, what are you motivated by? Are you motivated by a self-preservation type of instinct, and meaning that you have the material security, comfort, and so forth? Okay. So if that's what you're motivated by, what does that mean in terms of your career? What does that mean in terms of how you work with other people, who you attract, and so forth? So that's the whole idea behind this purposeful leadership. And you don't have to be a leader. Like, this term is not for people who are mid-level C-suite. We are all the own leaders of our own lives, right? So it's understanding, what is the mission that drives you? Even if you don't know it, how can we help you find that? And then blend that in with how you are designed to operate your performance. So that way you are purposeful in the way that you perform in life.
You have here, hustle culture is out. Intentional design is in. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So we have been in the last, oh goodness, I can't remember the exact number of years, but we have been in this push as a society to do more, be more, keep pushing, keep going through, and you will achieve something. Here in America, we have the myth of you can pick yourself up by your bootstraps and be anything and everything that you want to be. It's the land of opportunity. And while there are some things that are true about that, right? Like we are one of the only nations that, you can go from rags to riches, right?
Mhm.
When we talk about percentages, that's different, but there are better opportunities, right?
Right. Mhm.
Then, we're not perfect. I'm not saying anything about being perfect,
Yeah.
but we're talking about
But wait a minute,
opportunities.
but nobody is. We are
Exactly.
striving
No
for
one
this
is.
perfection, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Part of that has said in order to get successful, and we've defined success as a certain income range and so forth, which it shouldn't
Mhm.
be,
Right.
but you have to hustle, you have to push, you have to work hard, you have to do things you don't want to do, all these things to get where
Mhm.
you want to go. And what I'm saying here is that we are all built differently.
Mhm.
We all want different things. And it is okay to define your own level of success. And it's okay that that is different than this next person. So let's be intentional about what we want out of life, how we are going to design our life, and move with that intentionality. So, instead of maybe someone, part of their design is this, financial security. Okay. So for them, what does financial security look like for them versus someone else who everybody wants financial security, right? But it's defined differently, right? So how do we define that? How do we utilize our biology to understand, well, more than biology, but how do we utilize those pieces about us to understand ourselves even more deeply and then create that blueprint or game plan or strategy that's unique to us? And move forward with intention in life rather than just saying, oh, this is what my neighbor did. So, for example, we'll go back to technology. So, beforehand, before technology, social media, all the things, you lived some possibly in a neighborhood or it was whoever you were around. That's how you compared yourself with the Joneses, right? You saw what they had. If they had a new TV, oh, they've got a new flat screen TV. That was in your vicinity. You could see. And in general, people tend to live around the same economic background. So if this person got a TV, oh, hey, I could probably afford a TV, right? But now with social media, with internet, we get glimpses of what other people have access to. Like I can see the inside of a private jet from right the Kardashians or whoever.
Mhm.
And it's like, wow, I'm not doing well in life because look, they have
Yeah.
the private jet life. Or they have a mansion of 15 different bedrooms and there's only 3 of them.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
not that everybody wants that, but we start to compare. We've
Yes.
heard time and time again, comparison is the thief of joy.
Mhm.
But the question is, why are we looking to that and comparing our life's work and our design with what they are doing?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's where, okay, that's cool. They've got private jet money, right? That's cool. Do
Mhm.
I really care? Do I really want that?
Right.
Okay, well, what does that do for me? What is that
Yeah.
part
Yeah.
of my
Mhm.
work?
And also in that there are purpose and cause. And I can recall when our children were younger, we would say, you can't say we can't afford it, but you can say we choose not to spend our money on that because children don't know where our money's at, but they just say, I guess we can't afford it. You don't know what we're choosing to spend our money on. And that's the mind shift of choice. We all have choices in life. I choose to do this and they choose to do that. And the outcomes are what we see. I'm somebody who has the same income level and works the same job as the person next to him at the desk next to him. Do people even have desks anymore? I don't know, but, but who's working right next to him? They might think they make more money than me because they have nice jewelry. Yes, but you have a nice car and they're not into cars. They're into jewelry and you're into cars.
Mhm,
Or they
mhm.
took a vacation to Bali. Yeah, but you took a 10-day vacation to Disney. It probably cost more than their trip to Bali, So,
Oh, exactly.
but
Yes.
it's
Yes.
again, like you said, the comparison game is detrimental to your joy.
It is. And it's like, that's part of that hustle culture. In order to get
Hmm.
that, this is what I have to do. And that's the lie that we have been sold that you have to hustle. And I'm not saying don't put in hard work, right?
Right.
Hard work, yes, you do have to work. You can't just stay on your
Hmm.
couch and
Right.
blissfully manifest $4 million,
Right.
you know.
I'm sure blissfully manifest.
But yeah, and part of it is coming to that realization that you're different and that's cool.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with being unique. And it's that unique piece that you bring into this world that is needed. And too
Yes.
often than not, we just look at it as I'm not like this person, therefore
Mhm.
I'm not successful. And it's like
Right.
you are absolutely successful in your own unique way. How can we understand that and use that and
Mhm.
leverage that for
Yes.
you in this world?
And the benefits of your uniqueness. I share with whoever will listen to me outside of clients, but I share that, I love gardening, and anything you watch with me,
Oh, yeah.
I have gardening involved in it. And I'm not this ace master gardener at all, but I love it because I can achieve that in joy, because whenever you plant and you see something come up, you're a gardener. It doesn't matter. You garden something. And so when we lay our seeds out and when we water them and when we fertilize them and when the sun comes down and nourishes that seed, there might be shade over here. So this seed doesn't get as nourished, but you did all the same work. So
Mhm.
in life, you do the same work and some seed comes up this way and some seed comes up that way. But the ground is the same. We all have the same ground that we're starting in. And some of us may have rocks in our garden that have to be pulled out. Those are challenges. And some may have weeds that are trying to choke our dreams. But the beauty in that is that we can choose where to plant the seed and how to watch it grow. And we might not be
Mhm.
able to choose the outcome, but that doesn't mean we have to stop planting seeds. So
Absolutely.
I love that, because that's the intentional design versus the hustle of, let me just put the seeds in the ground and see what happens. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't work.
Yeah.
Let me try this. Tomatoes are
Yeah.
tomatoes. You're not going to get an avocado from a tomato, you know.
Well, AI you can. In
Yeah.
AI you can.
So that leads me to my question of, what joy do you find in your business? Tell us about the joy in the business.
Yeah. So what I love is having someone come in and they talk about all their messy parts in their business or what's going on in their leadership. And I help them come to see who they are as a person, how they're built, and coming up with those strategies to help them move the needle. And they come back to me and they're like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. And it's that transformation. And you probably hear this a lot, and you probably feel the same way when it comes to transformation. But that's what really I love, seeing people go from surviving to thriving, like all those terms. But I love watching my clients have the aha moment, is I think, the first part of that process. And then actually applying that and getting the results and understanding that they don't have to do it the way that their mentor told them. And again, there's nothing wrong with mentors. I think mentors are great, but mentors tell you what happened in their experience and what worked for them. And that's cool because that's what they know.
Mhm.
But just because that worked for them, it doesn't fully mean that will work for you. Maybe parts of it will,
Yeah. Where it's not the
but
only thing. Yes. Mhm.
right. So it's like my dad and I have these conversations too. So he's a business owner. He's been a business owner his whole life, an entrepreneur his whole life. And he will ask me questions about what to do, but he'll also ask other people in his circle. And he'll get all this data. And then from there, he will make a decision on the data. And I go back to him. I said, you need to make sure you're using your authority, right? It's a human design term. You make sure you use your strategic authority, but his authority is a mental authority. So he has to bounce his ideas off of people. So it makes sense why he does that. But that's not a bad thing to do. We have to be careful with our brain because our mind does get in the way at times. But it's not a bad thing to go around and talk to others, get their feedback, but you are making sure you're making the decision that works for you, not because, these people said do this, these people said
Right.
do this. Which one do I do? Right. I think there is beauty in knowledge, but there's beauty in also knowing, having this sense of inner knowing that while all these people can give you opinions or ideas, you are the one who makes that decision for you,
Mhm.
whether if it's good or bad, right? You don't know
Right.
what
Right.
this
Right.
decision is going to do, 10 years from now. But the decision was your own. It wasn't based out of pressure it wasn't fear based, right? It wasn't, oh, urgency. I have to hurry up and do it because if I don't, this is what's going to happen, those types of things. And I think that's what I love seeing, probably even more so, is my clients taking back their own power. They've always had it, but now they're taking it back in a way that is just,
Mhm.
it's undescribable, honestly.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to see. And it's just like, and I'm like the mom, but also the
Yeah.
cheerleader and, but
Yeah.
also the mentor. And I'm like, yes, go. I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, wow, I sound like the mom and you're, even though I'm not your mom, but
I know. Yeah. I have a coaching session called Reclaim Your Power Within. I totally understand what you mean. When they do, it's like, yes, it's like it's you, it's in you already.
yes,
That's
I'm like,
beautiful.
boom, mic drop. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah,
like, now go do it again.
yeah. Don't do it again. That's right. You mentioned mind and brain. I love that. Talk about the difference between your mind and your brain.
Ah, yeah. So
Because your mind will
interesting.
tell you stuff your brain doesn't tell you.
That's
Once
true. Yes.
emotion, once emotion.
Well, within human design, what we talk about within this system is that, we have 9 different centers and we have an inner authority. The inner authority is basically kind of the easiest way to say it is it's like our body's intuition to let us know how to help make decisions. Now, the way our bodies are set up is that the mind is not meant to make decisions. It's actually meant to be a passenger. It's actually meant to collect data for you, but it's not meant to make the decision. And so we have been in this era, and it's actually changing, but we've been in this era of let our minds make the decision because it's rational, it's logical, it's scientific, blah, blah, blah. But that's our minds are not meant to do that. Actually, it's more along the lines of our body is meant to make those decisions. So when we talk about the mind and the brain, of course, is the more scientific piece, the neurons, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a neuroscience. I can't give you all the detail. I just know it's very technical.
It's,
Very
it's
technical
that
stuff.
science stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that science mumbo jumbo that, makes sense, but
Mhm.
me using all these words, no. But the mind is this very loud voice that
Mhm.
says to you, you should do this. It tries to rationalize
Yeah.
how you should. If you hear the term should,
Mhm.
that's your mind trying to speak up and override your body's intuition or your response.
Mhm.
So, like when it comes to, when I work with leaders and it comes to making a big decision, right? Depending on your authority, depends on how you go about making this decision. So, if you are like an emotional authority, which I think is about 53% of society are emotional authority, what that means is you're not meant to make the decision in real time. Meaning, like when someone asks you, you're not meant to be like, yes, go for it, because you don't have a sacral or a splenic response. So instead, it's about coming from a place of neutrality and in some ways sleeping on it. So, for example, if you get a job offer, right, for this new company, everything looks good on paper, everything checks out. And sometimes you feel pressure to automatically go ahead and accept the offer, right? And it's like, well, thank you so much for the offer. I will get back to you within 24 hours, my decision, if you're an emotional authority, because your body needs time to go through that. Now, your mind will say, take it. It's perfect. It's double the money. It's more benefits, blah, blah, blah. But there's a reason why you want to pause, because while it might double your money, it might be great benefits. Well, if it's a toxic work environment, right? And you get into it, and 6 months later, you are like dying inside. Yeah, your body knows this, but your mind is trying to override it. Whereas if you have a more of a splenic or a sacral response, it's present in the moment. It only speaks once and it's not loud. So
Mhm.
you have to somewhat train yourself to recognize that if that is your authority. But does that answer your question? Because I can go off
That
on a long
does.
tangent.
No, that was great. No, it does. It does. It makes so much sense. Well, it's beneficial. I'm sounding a little greedy because it's beneficial for me when I have a life coaching client who also needs a business coach. So I'm delving in, asking questions that my clients ask. I'm like, ooh, found one. So yeah, no, thank you so much for that and your time. This was so luscious. It was delicious, and I'm not full enough, but I want to be full. I want to get some more. So we'll have to have you back. Let me ask you this: anything that you want to share with our audience today that you would like them to take away and possibly return in your presence without me?
Yeah. Well, one, I just want your audience to know is that they don't have to do things like everybody else says that they need to do, right? You have your own path, you have your own playbook. And the first step of creating a life and a career that you love is knowing what your playbook is. And so I offer a free resource. So if your audience is interested, if you go to brandystamper.com/blueprint, it is a free 7 to 9 page document of your performance style. So it goes into your human design and it lets you know what is your type, how are you are meant to operate in this world, what's your leadership style, and then what are some of the burnout triggers to pay attention to, because we all reach some point of overwhelm because we are just inundated every single day with something. Mm-hmm. So how can you recognize these burnout triggers and put a stop to them? Now, I'm not saying it's going to get rid of them, because we're always going to encounter these issues, just like your gardening example. There's always going to be something that's off in the garden that you might have to tend to. So it's not like they're going to go away, right? You can have the perfect soil, perfect fertilizer, perfect sunlight, everything. Something still could go wrong. Right. Yeah. So this resource is beautiful. It's very helpful just to get you started. And that's where I always tell people to get started with that. So brandystamper.com/blueprint, get your performance style, but just know you do you. And so we use that as like a bad connotation. You do you, boo. But honestly, yes, you should
leave
do
the boo
you.
out. Leave the boo out. But yeah.
Yeah. You do you, because that is what you are meant to do. You are meant to do you.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yes. Well, for those of you who are with us, thank you so much for joining us on this venture. And thank you, Brandy, for sharing your revelations, your thoughts, your energy. It was beautiful, beautiful interview. I am full, but I'd like to be bursting. So for our guests and for followers and guests, remember just to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You'll see everything in the description, as well as on, if you're listening, on Spotify and Apple. And I thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to you joining us on the next session. Thank you again. See, I called it a session, not a show, because this was a session. Thank you, Brandy. And see you guys on the next show.